What's up, family? Happy Friday. All right, so coming back at it, I wanted to talk a little bit about one of my favorite ways to look at astrology and to look at charts, and that's through the natal chart, through family natal charts. So I really like to and have gotten to know my own chart and even everyone around me's chart through understanding my chart through my family, through the family that I came from, through the family that I was born through, and also from the family that I've created. I have three children and did not pay attention to their charts right when they were born more than their sun signs. But as after I ran their charts after a couple of years, after getting through the first couple of years, honestly, of new motherhood, and I started to pay attention to my children's charts, I started to realize, just how perfect the moment that you're born is, and how intended the moment that you're born is, and how perfect we all fit together in our families. So I am somebody that helps families with natal charts, with family natal charts. I can run your family natal chart and kind of help you see where you can better relate, better understand, better embrace the reality of your life, of the family that you've come from, or the family that you have created with someone. And, I know for me and for my own family and for many families that I've helped around me, it can just provide a lot of ease, especially when it comes to challenges or to how to deal with each other in especially challenges. But even how to, raise your children, or not even necessarily how to, but to confirm with you the way that you're raising your children is the appropriate way for them, and all of those things. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, just a little bit about the houses that I pay attention to, the different placements that I pay most attention to, and how it kind of works out in my family. Just a few of the placements, how we can see we work out together. So the natal chart is a snapshot of the sky at the time of your birth. So the moment that you and I and all beings on this earth are born, the sky is at a particular point at that time. My first daughter was born in Honolulu, Hawaii at 11:22 p.m. December. I'm sorry, June 27th. So she is a Cancer, born in the evening in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Um, at that moment of her birth at 11:22 p.m., over that portion of the earth, there we took a snapshot of the sky, and that is the natal chart. So the sun has a particular position because of that time of the year, but also the moon has a particular position at that time of the night, at that time of the day. The Mercury, the planet Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Neptune, Uranus, all these planets, and a bunch of other things as well. All of the angles that the planets are facing and the constellations are making together. It's a very detailed science and understanding of the sky, but it's your natal chart, and it's a snapshot of the sphere of the sky above head when you are born, or when I was born. And it's a 360-degree um, disc, sphere disc, and it begins the at the first house and goes around to the 12th house. The first house represented by Aries, and moving all the way through the 12th house represented by Pisces. So that breakup of the sky, having your first house all the way around to the 12th house, is how the sky is broken up. And so each one of those houses means something different. We can just go through those really quickly for anybody who's totally new to astrology. The first house is the house of self. And actually, if you listened to the videos that I did previously, from taking Aries through the garden all the way to Pisces, we're pretty much looking at the same types of influences as you're looking at Aries. So Aries being that initial generator of self. The first house is all about the self. It's about different things that relate to the self, the way that you project yourself to the world. The second house has to do with your possessions. The third house has to do with communication, the way that you communicate. That's the energy of Gemini. The fourth house has to do with your home, where you came from, your birth home. Cancer, the protective energy, the mother energy. The fourth house is something that I'm definitely paying attention to when I read natal charts for families. That's going to also represent your IC, which is the lowest point in your chart. So this is the part of you that is hidden, but that also generates and stimulates your professional and adult life. It's the opposite of your MC, of your midheaven, and that's the 10th house. So these two work together. The house, your fifth house is the house of creativity, especially creativity like of what your creative energy can produce. So your children, your home, your own heart work, the work that is coming from your creative source within. Six is like work, the house of daily work, of daily jobs, of the daily habits. House number 7 is going to be also a house that I pay attention to when we are talking about family natal charts. That's your house of marriage and long-time partnerships. So like your fourth house has to do with relationships, but it has a lot to do with those foundational relationships. You can in your fifth house as well. It has to do with relationships, but it's more what you create, what your creative energy creates with other energies. 7 is long time contract type of relationships. So the seventh house is going to talk about the things that last, maybe not a lifetime, but 20, 10, 20, 30 years, not the short term relationships, maybe even 30, 40, 50 years, like the long term commitments that that you've committed to. House number 8 is death, inheritances, your like transformative parts of your chart. House number 9 is where we start to explore our understanding and our own personal philosophy. House number 10 is the house of career, and so it is the midheaven. It's the highest point. It's going to be the way that you ultimately shine the brightest on the earth. I do like to understand that position, especially when I'm doing natal charts for families, including children, so that the parents can understand how to nurture and nourish and allow space for their children as they grow and develop. House 11 is your house of your larger community of friends, so another relationship home, but not so much. It doesn't have to be necessarily long-term ones. That's a house of the Aquarian energy, so it could be very quick-moving relationships. And then 12 is the undoing of the self, so the completion, but the subconscious, the dark, the hidden, the delusional, the things that don't really make sense to most folks, but are also still a part of us. So those are the 12 different houses, and like I said, the ones that I like to pay attention to are 7, 4, 7, 10 for sure as well, and the 5th house too. Plus the moon, Venus, actually Mercury, like all of the personal planets as well. The personal planets, well, so the planets as well. So that was with the houses. So what we also want to look at is where the planets are placed, and what planets are in these houses. But we're not going to do too long of a video today. So when it comes to doing family charts, it's best for me to talk about through my family. I'm a Pisces, and this is all tropical chart. I am a Pisces sun with a Virgo rising, Aquarius moon, and my partner, my children's father, is a Capricorn sun, and I can't even remember his rising I can't remember his, I was looking for the book I have it written in, but I can't remember his other placements, but he's a Capricorn, and he has Pisces in Venus and Mars, and he has Aquarius. I think he might be an Aquarius rising. I can't remember exactly. And then we gave birth to 2 Cancer children and a Sagittarius child. And my Sagittarius child was my 3rd child. Big baby, very explosive birth. We didn't know how large he was going to be. And there was a moment in his birth that I know that I died for a moment and was reborn as he was born. Um, so just looking at our children's sun signs, we can see pretty clearly why we were gifted these children, why these children chose us. Having a water mother, having a Piscean mother, I'm naturally going to be able to provide the safe, nurturing, loving, sensitive, emotional environment for Cancer children. I have two. My first two were Cancers, and the first child was a Cancer. She is a Cancer sun, but with a Capricorn moon and has a Pisces rising. So there's times where I can find her daydreaming and lost in space, and I recognize it so much. I'm like, oh, that's my baby's Pisces rising energy, and I can understand it and give her space to do that, but also encourage her to snap out of it and come around because I recognize what's happening. Her Capricorn moon, though, from birth, made her very stern and very sure of herself and not really emotional. Her emotions don't waver much at all. But very sensitive and very compassionate and aware of other people's needs to that Pisces rising. Her brother, who was born 13 months later, came, and I could tell force. There was a force behind his birth, behind his conception. Um, Challenging for me having two babies back to back for 13 months, but he had to be like, in order for this sibling relationship to be able to work, I needed to have two Cancer children that were born back to back to each other, and one had to have a real strong moon to be able to help the second one, because my second child that was born, he is a Cancer sun, Scorpio rising, and Pisces moon. So he has all three of the water signs in his big three, with the Pisces moon, and he is just a highly, highly sensitive human, highly sensitive, sensory system sensitive, and sensitive in a general sense. So his Cancer sister, they relate on so many perfect levels, but she has this stability in her that has allowed her to really lead him in keeping his emotions in check and stable, as well as his Capricorn father. So Capricorn being the opposite of Cancer, both of our Cancer children really respect their father. They truly respect their father's ability uh, to to do what they ask. Actually, they love that he's like that grandfather for them. Capricorn being that grandfather energy. Cancers really respect and honor that grandfather energy, and they love that he shows up for them and that he's committed and dedicated to them. They respect him so deeply for it. They love and need his stability, especially with our daughter's Capricorn moon. They can both look at each other, if I'm going through something emotional, look at each other like, we have no idea what she's going through. And they don't, because Cap moons don't generally understand emotions that well. Our third child is a Sagittarius, and Pisces and Sagittarians are very similar energies, very magical and spiritual and kind of out of this world. I see my fourth house being in Sagittarius. I naturally, as a child, felt like I didn't fit in my home, like I didn't belong there, and I really didn't. I always wanted to leave. I used to dream of leaving California with it in the background, and that's ultimately what happened. When I gave birth to my Sagittarius son, everything really got changed. He changed around then. He's 6, he'll be 6 in a few weeks, and everything started to get really weird once I had that Sagittarius energy ripped through me. But since my 10th house, or my midheaven, and the highest point of my chart is Gemini, that's opposite of Sagittarius. In order for me to be able to do the work that I'm doing, which is this Gemini-esque communicating of my experience to the world through all the different projects that I've been doing over the last few years, I had to have a Sagittarian soul be conceived, grown, developed, and birthed through me in order to light this fire that I have within, which is the Sagittarius. My fourth house, my IC is the deep lowest parts in me. I am deeply internally a yearning, Sagittarian, and in order for me to be able to activate the opposite side of that, which is the highest point of me, which is the way that I give myself to the world, which is a Gemini midheaven. I needed Sagittarius to actually stimulate, activate, and turn that on. So my third baby was a Sagittarian, or is a Sagittarius. He is a Sagittarius with a Leo rising and with a Pisces moon. So all this fire, but he was given a Pisces moon so that he could actually bond and connect with me. I understand his Sagittarius ways. We have deep telekinesis, and like that was the way we communicated the first few years of his life, was mostly just through our eyes and through our presence. He's deeply aware of other dimensions and psychic and mind reading. But I get it, like that's how I was as a child. That's how I even imagine life to be in a general sense, and like believe life is like that. And I have compassion and know that there's a good chance that he's going to grow up feeling kind of like an outsider in our family. And in reality, he a little bit is when it comes to the children, because the first two are so close. They have what that Irish twins type of relationship. They're so close that he is kind of naturally left out during playtime. Also not because the last two are boys and they have a whole other bond. But my third child, my Sagittarius, actually has a closer bond. I have a more unique individual bond with him, where if the other two are linked up, me and him link up. So the moons, I feel like, really are something that we want to pay attention to when we are looking at parents and children. My Aquarius moon creates, an Aquarius moon child. So like I come from an Aries woman and a Cancer father, and they weren't together. Very young, they split up. Actually, I have a brother that's 6 months younger than me on my father's side, so they weren't together. I don't actually at my birth, I don't think. But being raised by an Aries woman, I would. That's almost a requirement to have an Aquarius moon, is to be raised by an Aries woman, because I have to have a very eccentric and detached mother. And not to say all Aries mothers are detached or insensitive to their children's needs or wants or desires. But I had my Aries mother was very eccentric. She created a very eccentric lifestyle for us. I had the freedom to kind of be myself. She didn't really care who I was or how I was. But she was mostly emotionally detached and wasn't really there for me in the sensitive ways that I could have been nourished. I didn't even really feel like I needed it, though. And that's the Aquarius moon. I didn't feel like I needed emotional guidance and support from my mother. My two boys, though, have Pisces moons. So they are naturally in need of my emotional support and my undying compassion and unconditional love for them. Whereas my daughter's moon is in Capricorn. So she really plays off of my moon. My Aquarius moon is much more prepared to be the type of mother she needs, really like the type of mother that I needed. But in a different delivery as well, because I'm a Pisces versus an Aries mother, and she's Cancer. So it's really, really amazing to watch how families come together. I've been really close guessing a few births through the natal charts. If you look at both mom and dad's natal chart, and you're within like the last, 4 to 6 weeks of the pregnancy, you can get pretty dang close as to when that baby's going to be born. Certain, if both parents are water and their moons are water, and let's say their risings are earth, let's say that the parents are both a lot of earth and water, you're probably not going to get a fire baby. That fire baby is not going to feel like it can express itself in its family. So you're probably not going to birth a fire baby. If on the opposite, if both parents have a lot of fire in them and don't have much earth or water in their charts, they are going to probably birth a fire baby. It's the universe is not, God, spirit, energy is not set up to create disharmony. It's a good life. We're created to have harmony. And so we birth the children that will be harmonious in our home. And you can see it in the birth charts. So I highly recommend you to research, to do your family birth charts. I can do a reading for you as well. I'll put a link in the description box below where you can order your family's natal charts. I'd be really happy to do those for you and give you my perspective of better ways that you can communicate and understand each other, and just being able to appreciate each family's differences with honor and respect and inclusiveness. Like, hey, that's a part of our family tribe. Like, we need that part of you in order to balance everybody out. And it doesn't always make things easy. I was raised mostly by Capricorn energy, and Capricorn energy is no joke. It can be really hard, very stern, very stable, very detached from emotions. And my children's father is a Capricorn. So while my biological father, is a Cancer, um, I don't know if I really would have been able to be raised by a Cancer with an Aquarius moon. I needed to have a more stern and I needed to have a more stern upbringing, and a very stable upbringing in terms of like those beginning years. I needed to have the parts of me nourished that I did. And my biological Cancer father, although, I, as a woman, I wish that I could have had that relationship with him. Um, I can imagine, Cancer men are hard for me. I have a Cancer son, and I can imagine dealing with a grown man as a Cancer, as a Pisces. I'm super emotional and all over the place. Like, I need you to be stern. So although, it would be nice to have a sweet, sensitive dad or energy like that, I really needed to have a stern one around me that was able to give me what I needed so that I could give the next generation of our whole family what it needed. And that's what this is really all about here, is the ancestors preparing each generation of us forward with everything that's needed in order to succeed. Um, so the fourth house, the fifth house, the seventh house are the primary houses that I pay attention to, and also the 10th house. And then in terms of the planets, we want to know, of course, where the sun is at. We want to know where the moon is at. The rising sign can be really beneficial, especially as the children get older. And Venus as well. So, and Mars too, and Mercury even. But I also like to pay attention to Venus as well, because a lot of times, like, dad and Venuses can be, really, really aligned or the same. I've had a lot of dad and daughters have the same Venus. And, men, you need to know that your daughter is going to date you. She's going to be attracted to you. And which is interesting because, like I said, my biological father is a Cancer, but I was raised by a Capricorn. So I would not have been able to create a family with a Cancer man. It wouldn't have worked for me. So I naturally was raised by the type of man that I was ultimately going to choose to have children with. And I'm thankful that I did. I'm so thankful that I chose a Capricorn, and him specifically, of course. But there's nothing just more stable and concrete than Capricorn energy in the whole natal chart, or in the entire sky. So that's what I wanted to say about natal charts, family natal charts. I'll talk more about them once I find the book with my families or rerun our charts. I'll talk more in depth about the way things work out. When it comes to like your children, their friends, their interests, their careers, their habits, things that you want to get them into, that's also in their natal chart. So you can run these charts for family and look at them as a family, but you could also look at just your children so that you can just better understand how to provide a nourishing environment for them, and to give them the space to do the things that they need to do. Like if you have a daughter that's a Pisces or has any strong Pisces energy, and you see that child just drifting off into oblivion in the middle of a busy day moment, you can maybe just give them a little bit of compassion and understand that that's called daydreaming, that's called dreaming, that's what the Pisces does. And yeah, it just makes life a little easier, and especially when it comes to friends and being able to see, the friends that your children choose, and how you can help guide them and navigate those relationships. Check out the link below if you'd like to order a family natal chart from me, or run the charts and check these different houses and planets, and start putting together an analysis for yourself, of who, what, when, where, and why you guys were all brought together, because it definitely is in perfect harmony. So, all right, family, we'll be back soon. I don't know what I'll talk about next. I really wanted to talk a little bit more about the midheaven, so we might talk about that. I want to be speaking about things that are really relevant to me in my life right now, as well as to the sphere of people I have around me. So family and career, those the years of my life. And I feel like not a lot of astrologers really talk about family or astrology from the family perspective, um, and even from the career perspective. So since that's where I'm at in life, that's what I want to talk to you guys about. So we'll probably come back and talk about the midheaven in a day or so. Until later, peace, y'all. Happy Friday. Enjoy your weekend.